This is about 9 o'clock, and the Transportation Committee meeting comes to order. Our chairman, Mr. Frost, is not here today, so I'll be filling up the role. My name is Mo Iqbal. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Freeman here.
Kenyon,
Here.
Bias,
Kay is present.
Gopi, Wojnicki.
Kopi's here.
Present.
Kopi.
Thank you, Mr. Gopi. Martin,
Present.
Pirog, Shepro. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion and a second?
Wojnicki
Mr.
moves.
Winicky moves,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kayas, second.
Second.
Any comments, any? Hearing none, we have the roll call.
Berman,
Freeman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon. Caius,
Bias, yes.
Gopi,
Kopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Shepro. Passes.
Okay, thank you. The next item, any public comments? Hearing none, seeing none. Let's move on to the finance. Tom? The reports.
Yeah, I'm trying to forward. Hold on one second. I'm not sure why it's not moving. There it goes. Okay. You have the finance reports in front of you. I don't have anything to really add. There's a lot of information there. And so feel free if you have any questions to contact myself or Ms. Hopkinson at the Division of Transportation.
Okay.
Mr.
Any
Chairman?
comments? Yes.
Yeah, just a quick question. I don't know if this falls under this particular thing, but is there something coming up with the impact fee? Are we doing things in the next month or so, input?
Yeah, there is and I'll have a slide on it briefly just to show the public hearing date and such. There is a public hearing date coming up.
Thank you. The next item is a resolution. It's about disbursement of funds to Blackberry Road District. Tom?
This is township bridge funds that are available, and we're requesting the committee approval to move this forward. The township bridge program funds are part of the funds that IDOT, the state of Illinois, have us distribute to the township. And so this is part of that disbursement. It's for Blackberry Township. It was for a bridge project, the CB Road Bridge over the Lake Run Creek, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay. Mr.
I
Kenyon?
would move to approve.
Berman, second.
Okay. Any comments? Just one comment. This is a project that has already been done. The summary is very long, but the resolution is one-liner. So it's kind of unusual.
Yeah, there's a little bit of explanation in regards to were federal STP bridge funds, and then the township bridge program funds can be used for matching. So the township ultimately is only paying out of their local share, that's only 4%. So it was to kind of explain that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's what nice. Thank you.
Yep.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Bias, yes.
Gopi,
Kopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
That passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item is maintenance. Do we have maintenance report?
Yeah, you have the maintenance report in front of you. I don't have anything to add to that unless there's any questions.
Any question? Any comments? No. Let's move on to the next item, which is the resolution. It's about adopt a highway program.
Yeah, this is, we're seeking approval for a new applicant. And hopefully I pronounced this right, Gustus family, and it's on Randall Road on the west side, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Any comments? Mr. Caius?
I was just going to move it.
Oh, okay. You moved.
I'll
Any
second.
Ms. Winicky, seconds. Any question, comments?
Now comments. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no,
I know that stretch of road. I hope they're really energetic because that's a well-traveled section of road.
How long a stretch is it?
About a mile and a half long.
A lot of junk.
Kudos to them.
yeah, that's very nice of the family though who is doing that. Anything further? Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kobe,
Hopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
That passes. Thank you.
The next item is planning and programming. Tom, do you have a report?
Yes, there's a couple things there. The first item, as Mr. Caius mentioned, we have a public hearing date for the impact fee program coming up on November 16th. So there are currently, we're required by law to make announcements within the paper. So that's moving forward. And then we also have our newsletter, and I'm just going to hit a couple highlights on that real quick. And there's some funding updates within the newsletter, as well as there's various information on activities going on currently, as well as the IDOT bills that have become law. IDOT's program now is utilizing metrics for selecting projects to move forward. And then there's some Cmap news. I'm just going to ask Ms. Forbes real quick if you had anything in specific that you wanted to highlight. I kind of kept things moving a little bit, but I want to make sure that we hit everything, Jackie.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Cmap State of the Region event. This is the first time they're holding this. It will be virtual, and I encourage you to register for it. It should be an interesting event. They did do a public opinion survey, and they'll be announcing the results of that. So it'll be a regional survey, which it's not just focused on transportation, but we have economic development component in it, land use as well. So just wanted to highlight that one item.
Okay, thank you. Anything further?
No, that's all.
Okay, the next item is the resolution. It's about IGA with the state of Illinois for Orchard Road at Route 30 intersection improvement. Tom?
Yeah, this is a resolution for an intergovernmental agreement in regards to funding. We've been working over the last few years on this intersection improvement. If you go down to the US 30 Orchard Road, there's a lot of delay that occurs at that intersection. We did receive, well, first of all, IDOT did the phase 1 engineering. We did receive federal funds, congestion mitigation, air quality funds for this project in the amount of 1.7 million approximately. And this is the funding agreement in order to proceed forward. We are working with the county of Kendall and with the village of Montgomery, and we're looking at some additional potential local matching that those two entities have said that they're willing to evaluate and explore. So we're working on that, as well as we've asked IDOT if they're willing to put more monies into the project. But this is currently where it stands, and we have to put the agreement in place in order to continue to move it forward. And so staff is recommending approval of the funding agreement.
May I have a motion and a second?
Kenyon moves to approve.
Kenyon moves,
Berman second.
Berman seconds. Any question, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kobe,
Hopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is another IGA with the Forest Reserve of Kane County. It's about the purchase of wetland. Tom?
This is a resolution for approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Forest Preserve District of Kane County. It's for the purchase and sale of wetland mitigation credits. As commissioners, you are aware that the Forest Preserve does at Muirhead Springs have wetland credits that they're proceeding forward with, and they're in the phase 1 aspect of that, where they're permitted to sell 20% of the future wetland credits. As part of that, we are requesting committee approval and ultimately county board approval to purchase 2.31 acres of those wetland mitigation credits. And that cost of those credits is $254,100, and staff is recommending approval.
Kenyon moves to
Mr.
approve.
Kenyon moves.
Second.
Caius,
Okay, second.
any question, comments?
Uh,
Mr. Bonick?
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick comment. I want to compliment the Kane County Forest Preserve for entering the wetland mitigation program through Muirhead Springs. It's a good opportunity for both sides, for the developer and for the Kane County Forest Preserve.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else?
I second that.
No.
No, just
Okay.
the sentiment, I sent it. It's good for the forest preserve in that we're able to, those funds go directly into rehabilitating that wetlands and improving that. So it's a good deal.
Oh, okay. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Hopi, yes.
Woodnicki,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
That passes. Thank
Thank you. The next item is permitting. Tom, do we have a report on it?
Yeah, you have the report in front of you. I don't really have at this point in time anything significant to highlight. The next agenda item is something that I will focus on and look for committee consensus, but nothing further on the report at this point in time unless you have any question.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is a discussion, not a resolution about right in, right out on Grandview Drive on Randall. It's in Algonquin. The area is undeveloped or being developed. Tom, you have a
Yeah,
presentation?
this is a piece of property that the village of Algonquin is moving forward with development activities, and part of this property is already been through the county board in consideration of access. And so generally, if you look at the property is bordered by Huntley Road on the west, Long Meadow Parkway on the north, Randall on the east. The access points on Huntley and Randall at the location in the center of the property, those access points have already been approved. And then on Long Meadow, there's an intergovernmental agreement that allows for the potential of a full access to Long Meadow and right in, right outs, but the developer is only seeking a right in, right out. The spacing criteria has been reviewed, and the only thing that was outstanding on this development was the right in, right out at Grandview, and that's the access point on the south end of the project. I don't know if you can see the cursor, but that's right here is the right in, right out that currently exists at Grandview. Along Randall Road, this is about the only area that has yet to have an intergovernmental agreement relative to access. Most of Randall Road has intergovernmental agreements in place. Access has been agreed to. Grandview, there were some complications historically. And so the only thing that was approved currently is a right in, right out on the east side. And the developer is asking for a right in, right out on the west side. There is an intergovernmental agreement. This might sound a little bizarre, but it's part of a Village of Gilbert's agreement with the property owner at Grandview, because he also owned property in Gilbert's, that says that there is the potential for a full access at this location at Grandview ultimately. But that's subject to the village and the developer building all the ultimate improvements, and that has not been agreed to yet. So ultimately, the village of Carpentersville, which literally has the planning jurisdiction of Grandview, they will come forward someday in the future with the developer on the west side of the road, and the appropriate improvements may go in for a signalized intersection at this location. At this point, though, what's being requested is a right-in, right-out at this location. And since Randall is a limited access freeway in accordance with state law, state statutes, only the county board can approve that. And so what I'm seeking today is consensus from this group that a right-in, right-out is permitted at this location, and giving me direction to pull together a resolution for that right-in, right-out to come through this committee next month. I just wanted to make sure that this group was okay with that before we brought a resolution forward. So
Oh, is there anything going on today that you had to?
if I can get direction on that, then I'll bring that resolution forward next month.
Oh, agricultural stamp?
Go ahead, Mr. Caius.
Yes, Chris Caius. How did, so this falls in under the standard application for right-in, right-out as far as the lead or the spacing between intersections then that we're applying to the rest of Randall Road?
Yeah, this actually has the spacing that's been ultimately approved for a full access. So it's got about 1,000 feet at this location. So it does meet the spacing criteria from Broadsmore to the north and Platte Hill to the south.
And that's it in front of the Ashley Home Store, is that, or it's just south of that? Is that?
I think so. I apologize.
On
It's
Grandview.
because they're both private. It's a full access where Platte Hill is located. But it doesn't have a street name. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Not
what.
Platte, but the Randall Grandview.
Oh, yeah. I believe that might be where the Ashley store is. Again, currently at this point in time, it is a current right-in, right-out on the east side of Randall.
Right.
Mr. Berman.
Yes, thank you. Is it divided there? Is there a divider in the middle of?
There is a divider. It's where that yellow circle is approximately. There is a barrier median in the middle of Randall Road that only allows for a right-in, right-out.
Okay.
Along with
Question, Kobe?
oh, excuse me. I should ask for,
You're done?
well, no, one more.
Okay, go ahead.
So the full access would then be, if it was to go to full access eventually, which we have the ability to do that, like you said, we have an agreement with them. If it meets everything, would then be a lighted intersection, a signaled intersection?
I'm fairly confident it would be a signalized intersection. It's kind of difficult to do a full intersection on Randall Road without signalization, especially when you have commercial trips. Grandview on the east side is a collector road that goes all the way to Sleepy Hollow Road. And so I think ultimately it will meet warrants for a signal.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Tom, for stepping on your toes.
Oh,
One
no
comment here.
problem.
I was looking at Google. I didn't go there, but there is no road, Grandview going west. It's only to the east. So
Correct.
it would be a brand new road if there is any.
Yes.
And this would be new right in, right out. So you have an opportunity to make it really a textbook case that this is a model. I mean, this is a requirement that every developer has to do. Does it make sense or
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, since the county board previously approved the potential of a full access, I think ultimately the developer for that whole southwest quadrant will want to come forward. And we'll at that point in time, we'll put together an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Carpentersville that's subject to the conditions that the county board comes up with.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Any
I
other
think I heard
comments?
Mr. Copey, I think I heard online.
Mr. Copey?
Hi. Hi, Tom. Good morning, everyone. The question I have is, what was the purpose of the discussion regarding the Village of Gilbert? I didn't quite understand it.
Yeah, my apologies. This was a very atypical agreement that was put together with the property owner that owns the property along Randall Road on the east side of Grandview. Basically, on the south, these properties on the south side of Grandview, on the east side of Randall Road, if you can see where the cursor is, That property owner also owned some property for the realignment of Galligan Road to Terrell Road. And so as part of the agreement with that property owner, he sought an understanding for this property along Randall Road as well. So there was language that was put into the agreement with the Village of Gilbert and the property owner. Oh, I think it was probably close to 15 years ago that addressed the realignment. And as you know, the Galligan Terrell roadway was realigned back then, but it also addressed this one piece of property. Very atypical. We generally, we don't like seeing something like that because it's really easy to lose some of the conditions that were associated. But that's what occurred. And so there is an understanding between the property owner and the county board that ultimately Grandview could become a full signalized intersection.
Is the property owner still active? 15 years ago, it's quite a bit of time. You're 70 years old.
Yeah, we do. He tends to own some properties around the county. He's still active, and we do encounter him once in a while on other developments and activities.
I understand. Okay, a deal's a deal.
Okay, thank you.
I guess just one of the, that is Caius again, that section north from on the west side would be all industrial eventually. Is that that's Algonquin?
Yeah, I
Industrial
believe
park?
it. I believe it would be more of a warehousing slash industrial, but probably more of a warehousing type development. So-
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Tom is looking for consensus. Unless there's an objection, I would say is consensus by all the members here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is traffic operations.
Yeah, and this is a new item, mainly because a couple months ago, we did separate out the traffic operations and permitting into two separate departments. And this is to recognize the traffic engineering and operation aspects that really is a thing unto itself. And so in the future, when we have traffic operation items, it will be coming through this new line item within our agenda. And besides that, there's a couple things that are mentioned there on the report, but I don't have anything that I wish to highlight at this point in time. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Okay. Yeah, I have a comment. The traffic, I think, has come back up after it went down through the COVID. We see a lot of traffic between I-90 and Route 20. In the afternoon, I observe it. In the morning, I don't. But in the afternoon, there's a lot of traffic coming from I-90 going south, and it's a backup. And you're doing the study anyhow, so.
Yeah, there's a number of projects that we are looking at, the phase one and engineering and feasibility studies to address some of the congestion that's starting to redevelop as you're stating. And so in the future, we'll continue to develop those projects, the I-90 interchange, as well as some of the major intersections up there, Illinois 72 at Randall, Big Timber at Randall. So you'll be seeing some of those projects coming forward in the future. The biggest issue there is funding. And so as I think most everybody here is aware, a lot of these projects take anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 years to develop because it takes a long time to engineer, acquire the properties, and then develop a funding package in order to pay for some of these intersection projects. Can easily be $5 to $10 million, sometimes even more. Interchange project, typically you're looking at 50, 60 million dollars. And so they're pretty expensive projects that we'll continue to work on to try to address some of the capacity and safety issues.
what we can do
Okay.
to,
Thank you.
the,
Next, I think the next item is project implementation. Do you have a report,
whoever.
Steve?
Thank you, Chairman.
So,
As Tom mentioned, one of those such projects, Randall at 72. One thing I'll mention in the IMP report that we're
holding chair.
going to move forward with a public informational meeting on October 14th from 6 to 7:30. It's going to be a virtual meeting.
Outside as much as possible.
Accommodations will be made for folks who don't have internet access and such, and that'll be included in the advertisement. So other than the photos,
So too.
anyone has any questions on the IMP report?
What was the date of that?
October 14th starting at 6 p.m.
Okay. We'll see.
Mr. Martin.
This isn't strictly about the report, but
Well,
I just want, I guess I'm asking for confirmation. When at the intersection of North and Randall Road, which we've had before us a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 months relative to improvements and what to do with the corner, I've noticed 2 things, and I just want confirmation of a fact. I've noticed that the loan company on the corner now is being converted into a fast food restaurant, which I assume is going to increase the intensity of activity at the corner. And then that full intersection farther north from North and Randall intersection.
Oh,
Is that intersection and that access to that otherwise locked parcel back there is that part of the intergovernmental agreement that we had with St. Charles over the years that?
Yeah, all of that was agreed to. It was the access agreement and the Woodward Drive, everything in order for St. Charles, because they came to the county board and requested Woodward Drive extension to the west.
Okay, I thought I remembered it, but I just thought it was worth restating. It's a huge benefit to the people that are going to be using Woodward Drive. And I don't know that the world ought to forget that that's part of the deal when we look at the corner parcel.
Well, and the intent of that new access point, anytime you grant the signalized access to Randall, the intent is that it serves all of the property on that entire side of the street, which is why we push so hard for the internal connections. And so now the internal connections aren't the greatest, and that's why you're seeing this request from that property owner on the corner for direct access to Randall.
Just to confirm what I thought was obvious in my memory bank. Just getting smaller and smaller as time goes on.
Thank you. Anything further, Steve?
The photos, we could go through those real quick if you'd like. Long Meadow Parkway C2 contract from San Bloom to Illinois 25 shows here some of the erosion control, site grading, and pavement striping that's occurring. We did a thin lift overlay pavement management sort of test segment on Corn Road between McDonald and Silver Glen Road this year, and the striping is done. We're working on traffic signals and streetlight foundations here at the new westbound to northbound right turn lane from Silver Glen Road to Randall Road. And we're doing deck patching on Kirk Road over UP Railroad, along with the intersection reconstruction project at Kirk at Dunham. That's all the photos.
Great, thank you.
Mr.
The
Chairman,
next- Okay, Mr.
I have a
Kayas.
question for Steve. Just, can you enlighten us again? Continue to get questions about the progress of Long Meadow Parkway at the end of the bridge, and when that will be, when will that be done, and how are we doing?
Our best guess right now is summer of 2022, around June.
June? Because of the removal of.
Right, there's lead contaminated soil that we're working with the IEPA, IDOT, and the general contractor to come to a resolution and result and a method to move forward with. So we're trying to work with the general contractor under the existing contract. We're giving that another last effort right now as we speak. And if that doesn't work out, we'll consider other options while working with IDOT. It is an IDOT contract. There's federal funds involved, so they are a major player in the decision-making process on how to move forward.
And the gantry as well?
The gantries were delayed. Those are anticipated to come in later this fall. And the roadside building was also delayed. We're looking at mid-November for that. Those are all pandemic-related supply chain issues that we're trying to work through. Traffic signals also at Long Meadow at Illinois 25. So we're waiting, that was impacted also by COVID. So when those are installed, we do plan to open up that segment from 25 to 62, but we need those signals operational at 25 first.
Thank you.
Mr. Rickard?
That's what I was going to add to the conversation, the gantries and the signals. So that's been covered.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on to resolution. It's about approval of the Phase 1 engineering services agreement with Baxter and Woodman. They are from Crystal Lake, and project is Galligan Road from Freeman Road to Binney Road. Tom? Yeah.
Do you need a motion or?
Not yet. Let him. Yeah, okay, let's have a motion.
I'll move that we.
Mr.
approve
Kane.
it.
Can I second?
I second. Any comments or question?
That project, we've got increased traffic congestion that we're experiencing at Galligan and at Freeman and at Binney. There's also a box culvert in between that needs to be addressed. So we're looking to, we went through QBS, selected Baxter and Woodman, negotiated a Phase 1 engineering contract that is locally funded for a federal aid, following the federal aid process to make the later phases of the project federally eligible. So we'll compete for federal funds in the future. Right now, we negotiated that locally funded project for just under $609,000 for both intersections and the drainage improvement in between.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comment, Mr. Caius?
Just Caius here. Question on the long term. Do you think how long that project will take? Any speculation? I know it's early.
It's early. A federal, following the federal process makes the project take longer, but it makes you eligible for, especially the construction phase, a large chunk up to 80% of the funding. So it extends the length, but it's worth it in the end. Phase 1 of like this can take 1.5 to 2 years. Land acquisition might be required. So during Phase 2 engineering, we're pursuing land acquisition that can take 18 months. So Phase 2 would be another couple years. So you're looking at 4 to 5 years, and that's if negotiations for land acquisition go well.
Yeah, those are interesting intersections. I will agree.
Question, Kopi?
Go ahead, Mr. Pope.
Thank you. The question I have, you mentioned a creek crossing at Galligan and Freeman. There is a crossing on Galligan and there is a creek crossing on Freeman. Which creek crossing were you referencing?
It's right in between the two intersections. If you're able to look on screen, Tom's putting his cursor across it right now. It's an existing box culvert there that needs some improvements.
On Galligan. I don't have the screen in front of me. Okay,
Galligan.
so that'd be north of Binney Road then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comment? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Pickle,
Well, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Copy,
Copy, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
that passes.
Thank you. The next resolution is about the tollway, the toll bridge operations, and this is for the consulting services with Stantec Consulting Services of Chicago. May I have a motion and a second? Mr. Kenyon
Kenyon
moves,
Berman, second.
Berman seconds. Any comments? Steve?
Oh, brother.
Well, we went through QBS and selected Stantec in order to provide the toll bridge operation support services, what I like to call TBOS, because I like acronyms. And they have the existing contract. They've done exceptional service. I'm working directly with them. And we went through a competitive process, but they did come out ahead. This contract will be for the next 3 years. It is a task order basis contract. So I'll give them a task. We'll negotiate and agree upon the amount for that work and then issue that task. So they'll oversee the remainder of the implementation of the toll bridge, which, as I said earlier, through June of next year, we're anticipating right now. Then also they'll oversee operations of the toll facility itself. So we need their expertise. They're well-known in the field. And this is for a maximum contract amount of $600,000.
Mr. Caius?
Comment from Caius again shortly. Again, this is just another $600,000 we're spending to collect money from the residents of Northern Kane County to pay for the roadway. I want to remind the board that this is intended to be a sunsetted toll, so that if we can't get rid of it right now, we're going to always keep in mind that it'll be sunsetted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, Colby.
Wojnicki here, thank you. Steve, you said, this contract only goes for 3 years, and then we have to renew every 3 years?
We do. That's our professional services policy that we follow. The qualification-based selection has a maximum 3-year contract. So yes.
And the other consulting firms that we, interviewed, were they pretty much the same every 3 years?
Yes, our on-call contracts, we have a handful of those. Those are, we go through a competitive selection process every 3 years on those.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, I just
Question,
wanted,
Colby?
typically we don't put the resolution as part of the display, but I wanted to at least show that there was wording that we put in the resolution that adds to what Mr. Caius stated, that it's the fourth whereas down. It says, in accordance with the direction of the county board and municipal partners, support services and other tolling operations are considered temporary in nature, with tolling to be removed from the bridge once all bond, debt service, maintenance set aside, and tolling purposes have been fulfilled. And so that was at your request that we consider some wording, and that's what we came up with. And so.
Artie, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Copy, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Copy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several months ago, we had addressed the issue in regards to the tolling procedures, and we had contracted with a firm that was to collect the tolls. Now, that is different from this proposal, and in that it is a consultation to how the tolls are collected at the cost of $600,000. That's what I'm understanding.
Right. A while back, we took two agreements, two contracts with firms. One was for what's called the Roadside toll collection services. That's the hardware that gets mounted onto the gantries, the lasers, the cameras, those sorts of things that detect the transponders, IPAS transponders in your car. If you don't have that, it takes photos of all of the license plates as they come through in order to capture those folks that are going through the toll. So that's called the roadside side of that, or toll collection services side. We executed a contract with A to B for those services. The other part of it is called back office services. And so when a transaction is recorded on the roadside, it's sent to the back office, and those folks then are processing that transaction, coordinating with EasyPass Group, and securing those funds from the home agency of where the transponder was issued. In this case, we have nearly 90% of the residents in the area have IPAS transponders. So we'll be coordinating, reconciling each month with the tollway for those transactions. So the back office service provider also provides all of the customer service. They take all the phone calls, all of the emails, operate the website, send text messages, and coordinate with folks on trying to get them to pay their tolls. And so we executed a contract for those services with a firm called ETC. So these two firms are developing the roadside, developing the back office services. This contract then are our eyes and ears experts in the field who then oversee the implementation of the roadside and the back office services so that they develop a functioning toll facility, and that we have a smooth operating customer service backside, and we get as much revenue as we can. So they're, they're our hammer. And so that it's allows us to get a really good roadside and back office services. They provide excellent service. I'm meeting with them several times a week with the roadside and back office folks. And without them, we would be lost. We do not typically build toll bridges. And so we need those folks who are experts in this field to do that work for us.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
So it sounds like the machinery and the contract is already in place to identify the bill to the customer. The machinery is already in place to take payment from the customer. But what this service provides is the, as quote unquote, the eyes and ears to attract monies that may have slipped through the cracks, and so therefore a loss of revenue. So could it possibly be anticipated that there would be a loss of revenue for $600,000 for the course of this contract, or per year? I misunderstood that part. The $600,000. If there's to recoup $600,000 to say, yep, we made money through these bills that slipped through the cracks, I don't see how that could possibly be feasible.
In regards to those comments, there is a cost to operate a toll bridge, and right now those costs are estimated at 30% of the revenue. So there is an O&M, and this is part of that. So it's not as if they will prevent loss of revenue in order to pay for their services on a dollar per dollar basis. But they're doing an excellent job holding our consultants' feet to the fire in the development of the roadside and the back office services, so that we will have a well-run functioning toll bridge.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is much more regarding the services. This is much more than trying to recoup potential lost funds. It is essentially staffing for us at the Division of Transportation. One of the reasons too why it's only a 3-year contract is, hopefully some of these aspects of services we will learn over the next few years, and we'll figure out how to do internal staffing. So this is much more than, these are services, as Steve mentioned, that we need assistance on because we're not a toll agency. And so essentially they're internal staffing for us. It's all part of the overall budget. In fact, the budget for all of these services, back office and everything, came in significantly less than we anticipated. And that's where in recent couple years, we've been mentioning that only about a third now of the overall tolls collected now go towards operations, which is pretty close to industry standards. And so there's a lot of positive things occurring here, as well as this is assistance that we currently need. Again, hopefully in a few years, some of this we can actually do internally with our own staff.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Bias, no.
Gopi,
Hopi, maybe? No, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll vote yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
that passes.
Thank you. It passed. The next item is putting the reports on file. May I have a motion and a second? Mr. Caius moves.
I'll second.
Wojnicki seconds. Caius, yeah. Caius and Wojnicki.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal,
yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Bias, yes.
Gopi,
Hopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item is to go into the executive session. May I have a roll call?
For the purpose of land acquisition.
For the purpose of land acquisition.
Caius, move.
Berman, second.
Berman second. May I have a roll call?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Gopi,
Hopi, yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
that passes.
Okay, we are back in the open session. May I have the roll call?
Berman,
Berman,
Iqbal present.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Vice President.
Gopi,
Hopi's here.
Wojnicki,
Present.
Martin,
Present.
Shepro,
Sorry, Shepro present.
Eurog.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next item is new business. Any new business? Tom?
Yeah, I just had 2 items I wanted to mention real quick. One was in regards to the ARP funds. I just wanted to mention that staff was looking at a potential submittal for that. I know that's, I think, due by the end of this week, and wanted the committee to be aware of that. We're looking at the potential of some funding to match what is called JARC funds, Job Access Reverse Commute Funds. And these funds are utilized to assist people to get to jobs. And so we're looking at trying to pull together some matching funds to expend these old federal JARC funds. So that effort's underway. We don't know exactly how much we'll be submitting for, and we know there might be other priorities, but we thought this is a potential way to expend those federal funds that are currently sitting out there. So that's one item. The second item is the committee chair, Mr. Fraz, and the vice chair, Mr. Iqbal, requested that I hand out an overview of the Regional Transportation Authority Act sales tax. And so in front of you, each one of you should have a copy of the RTA sales tax overview. This is basically for your information. We did discuss this briefly last June, as well as January, about the potential consequences if some of these funds were moved towards public safety. And so there are discussions going on currently. We know the county board has a significant decision to make in order to look at and address the various funding needs of the county. But we wanted to at least make you aware of how these funds came about, and as well as the potential consequences of moving some funds. Ultimately, staff understands that that's the decision of the county board. Mr. Iqbal and Mr. Fraz requested that we distribute this to the transportation committee members so that you at least have an overview again of how these funds were created and what we utilize them for. Primarily, as we discussed last June and last January, these funds are our matching funds. They're our primary capital funds for our various projects. When we discussed the transportation improvement program that was adopted by the county board, we had about $190 million shortfall in that program for the various projects the county board has already directed us to move forward with. So the various funds that we have available are not enough as they are. So we just from the staff, we just request that you exercise caution. If you have any questions and want to know a little bit more about the information, feel free to give me a call at any point in time. That's really all I had on new business.
Thank you, Tom. The next item is public comments, non-agenda items.
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan. May I ask a quick question?
Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Salem.
I'm not on your committee and I'm working off my memory, both dangerous things, but Mr. Rickert, can you remind me, didn't we make a decision that 82% of the RTA funds would go to transportation and the other 18 would go to public safety? We had included in the 18 a contingency, which I believe, and we redirected the contingency back towards public safety programs. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, if you look at the sheet, the second page, which I'm showing right now, because you probably don't have a copy in front of you. If you go down to the bottom, the financial policies that were initially put in place, as well as the one that's currently in place, are shown. And so originally it was 82%, and then there was 18%. Part of it was public safety, part of it was judicial technology capital projects, and then there was a 3% contingency. But ultimately, 2 years ago, it was approved to reallocate where 75% is currently for transportation. So it was reduced from 82 to 75%. With the public safety receiving 9% and judicial technology 6%. There was a remaining 10% that went to operating costs of public safety. So there was a shift 2 years ago to move a couple $1 million towards public safety. And so that was already done. Now there is current discussion about the need potentially to find additional monies for public safety. And so this again just kind of shows where things have been and where things potentially might be going. So,
Mr. Rickert, a follow-up. If you've been operating with the 75%, can you tell me how that has affected what we've been able to plan for? Has it reduced what we've been able to plan for because we have less money to offer as matching funds?
Yeah, when you look at our overall 5-year capital plan, we are required by law to produce a 5-year financial plan. When you look at that, there have been projects that we continue to push out into the multi-year that we wouldn't be able to do within the 5 years. One of the benefits that have occurred is that there was additional MFT funds that are coming to the county that has helped to fill some of that gap. but we still have that $190 million shortfall for the current projects that the county board has adopted within the transportation improvement program.
Thanks for the background.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Anything further? Let's move on to the public comments, non-item agenda. Anyone? Hearing none. I'll need a motion to adjourn in a second. Mr. Kenyon moves.
Did we put the reports on file? Did I miss that?
That's done.
Oh, okay. I
We
did.
were going good.
Yeah.
Then we hit a speed bump and ran off the road.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Who was the seconder?
Ms. Wonicky.
Okay.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye, okay.